Hello, this is Allie with the Perception Trainers, author of The Perception Diet, and today I want to talk to you about how and why you are a miracle worker. Alright, so when we think of the word miracle, most of us think of like spontaneous healing, or raising someone from the dead, or manifesting $1 million overnight. And I understand that, right? And a lot of us might think that miracles and spontaneous healings and all of these things that we think of as miracles are kind of like things that happened in the Bible or things that happened a really long time ago, and kind of the days of those things happening aren't really happening. Or, you know, we've seen like medical miracles and things happen in certain situations, and we might think that, yeah, miracles can happen, but it kind of depends on like a magical person to create a miracle. Like that's not just something that anyone can do. And I want to explain to you today why that perspective is actually totally incorrect, why miracles are more than possible in today's society, and in fact we should be living a miraculous life all the time. And I'm going to tell you how to do it, alright? So when we look at the text, A Course in Miracles, and if you haven't ever heard of that, it's a really cool book on helping to kind of shift your perspective and shift your mind into a miracle kind of centered thought, way of thinking, way of being. And it says in the Course in Miracles that a miracle is a shift, any shift from fear into love. Okay? So that might sound super esoteric, and like, what does that? Yeah, that's great. A shift from fear into love, and then magical things happen, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. So I want to explain to you what it actually means, and what science says this means, and how you can apply that to your life so that you can walk around being a miracle worker. Alright? So we know from the studies of Dr. Bruce Lipton what happens to cells when they're in fear and what happens to cells when they're in love. Right? When cells are in fear, all they do is maintain the status quo. There's no healing, there's no regeneration, there's no expansion, there's no ability to adapt to their environment. All they can do is maintain what's going on, right? So then if any threat, anything happens, the cell will die. And like I say, the cell is not going to reproduce, the cell is not going to heal, the cell is not going to grow, the cell is not going to regenerate, because it's not focused on that. It's only focused on just surviving, right? When a cell is in a state of love, it grows, it regenerates, it heals, it expands, it can, like I say, it can adapt to different environments and thrive. And it can do all of these pretty amazing things when it's in this state of love. And so if we look at our bodies like that, right? Like our bodies are a collection of cells, and this is how cells work under fear and under love. We know that healing is really only possible when we're in a state of love. Right? When we're in a state of fear, it's very difficult to heal. When we're in a state of panic, when we're in a state of feeling like the universe is against us, when we're in this state of fear, right? This is where disease lives. This is where things go wrong in the body. This is where we make choices that lead us to do things that damage the body and where the body gets sick and can't heal, right? When we are in a state of fear, when our minds are in a state of fear, we are in a state of survival. And we know this from our brainstem, right? That when our brainstem is activated, the survival mechanism takes over. And it's not about thriving. It's not about how can all of us work together for good. It's not about how can we create this loving, harmonious world for all of us to cohabitate in. It's about right here, right now, me, how am I going to survive? Everyone else is the other. I am the one. And how can I, survive? Right? And we go into defense mechanisms, we go into self-sabotaging behavior, we go into all of these kind of self-destructive things when we're in survival mode, because we don't have the ability to think long-term. We don't have the ability to think broad perspective. We don't have the ability to reason with, the whole collective. We're just in survival. We're just in, what do I need to do right now to survive? And it's the exact same with our bodies. And if you think about that on a global scale, right? When we're all in this state of fear, we're all in this state of threat, we're all in this state of terrorists, we're all in this state of climate change, we're all in this state of being afraid all the time. Look at how that has manifested in our world, right? This kind of fear has manifested extreme poverty in some parts of our world. This kind of fear has manifested extreme destruction of our environment. This kind of being in fear has manifested extreme rejection of ourselves from ourselves, right? This kind of fear has manifested extreme separation. Even just kind of on a day-to-day level, we are walking around like the world is this jungle and everyone is out to get us, right? If we just look at the way people behave, like when we have to stand in line, it's like everyone's the enemy now. Everyone in front of me and the cash register and everyone is the enemy and I have to like win, right? And when we're in traffic, everyone's the enemy, right? And this is all reflective of the fact that we are living in a state of fear, right? So if we think about this, if all of us were to shift into a state of love, where we know our brains behave differently. When we're in a state of love, we are not in fight or flight. We are not in me against everyone else. When we are in a state of love, we are in this together. We are in community mindset. We are in how can we work together for all of us to get what we want, right? We are in a completely different state of mind, right? We are in a completely different state of being. Our cells are behaving differently when we are in a state of love. And so when we shift from fear into love, all of a sudden when we're in traffic, we can have a good time. We can be gracious. We can let people in. We can we can let people in. We can be aware and stop on time, and it's not this big race. And your drive to work will probably be smoother. When you're in a state of love and you have to stand in line, not everyone's your enemy. And maybe you let the person with one item when you have 10 items ahead of you because they only have one item. And time seems to expand when you're in this state of love. And it's just true. When you are in a state where you feel safe and you feel like we are all one and we are all connected, you are in that state of love, your behavior is completely different. You are more generous. You are more kind. You are more caring. And so think about this. If we all shifted from a state of fear into a state of love, do you not think that would cause a miracle on this planet? Right? So like the idea, some people might take this idea and think, well, okay, so like everyone in Africa must be in a state of fear because they are all in poverty. And I would say, no, we are a collective, right? We are all collected, we are all connected. And so the fact that all of us over here in the Western world, that so many of us are in a state of fear, means that even though there's enough food on the planet for everyone, because we're in a state of fear, we hoard. You see what I'm saying? Because we're in a state of fear, we don't extend our resources to help people who are suffering. We don't extend our abundance of what we have in order to create abundance for everybody. We're all just like, take what we got, take what we got, take what we got, build up an army so that we can defend ourselves and kind of screw the rest of the world. You see what I'm saying? So like if us in the Western world were to shift to a state of love, what this would mean is we would say, okay, let's take down our defenses. This isn't about defending ourselves. This is about the fact that we have a huge overabundance of resources here. How can we allocate some of that stuff to the people who don't have enough so that we can all live together in peace? And you see, like, if we were in a state of love, we're not fighting over territory. We're not fighting over material resources because we understand that there is enough for everybody, and if we all work together, everyone gets a piece of the pie. And I get it. I know what you're going to say. Like, holy smokes, that is like such wishful thinking, and like the whole world would have to just completely change the way that it operates in order for that to be a reality. And it's like, yeah, of course it would. Of course it would. We would have to shift, like, from a state of fear into a state of love. But would that not be a miracle, right? If we all understood that we're safe and that if we all work together, there's enough for everybody, and that we can co-create a world where everyone has what they need because this planet can provide that, we would, you see what I'm saying? We would create a completely different earth. We would create a completely different existence, and that would be a miracle, right? And so bringing it back to you, right? Bringing it back to you. This shift that we all want to see on the planet, right? We all want to see climate change halted because we stop destroying the rainforest, and we stop doing all of these things to our environment that we know are ridiculous and that we know are destroying our habitat. And where we stop having so much money spent on military, where we stop having the education systems in our society be completely neglected because we're spending money on, big, huge corporations that just help to make money for our countries or whatever. And we live in this world where it's like my country against your country, where poverty, extreme poverty can exist, right? We all want to shift away from that. And the thing is that we all have personal individual free will, right? This isn't about everyone waiting for some sort of magical tipping point where everyone realizes that if we act good and that if we work together, everything will be better for everybody, right? This isn't about that. We can't wait for that. That's not your job. It's your job to shift your own perspective, to shift your own self from fear to love, to shift your own thinking, your own being, your own heart, your own perspective from there's only enough for so many of us and I gotta win and everyone is against me and this world is terrible and dangerous, to love. Shifting to how can I make myself feel safe? How can I shift myself from the state of fear into love? Because the more of us that do this, you see what I'm saying? The more individuals who are in a state of love than they are in a state of fear, the more the world is going to shift, the more things are going to change, because we are in control of all of that. It is through individual action that the world changes. It is one person at a time that creates miracles. So for you to shift inside yourself, when you have a negative emotion, instead of beating yourself up, instead of running away from it, instead of trying to make it go away, instead of creating a battleground inside yourself, instead of reacting with fear, you react with love. You have created a miracle, okay? So that miracle, first things first, when you can respond to your own negative emotion or your own physical pain or your own negative, stuff that goes on in your life with love, like allowing yourself to relax, seeing the gift that it has for you. First things first is that miracle is going to occur in your own life. You are going to see things through different eyes. You are going to have a new perspective. You're going to see how your negative emotion is trying to lead you in the direction you actually want to go. You are going to see how your negative emotion was truly just trying to help you unearth something that you believed about yourself that wasn't in alignment with your truth. And it's going to set you free. See, that's like a little tiny miracle. When you shift yourself from a state of fear to a state of love often enough, and you are living through the veil of loving yourself, you are going to make better food choices. You're going to make better choices for your lifestyle. You're going to sleep better. You're going to have better relationships. And all of that stuff is going to create a miracle of healing in your body, because of course it will. When you're eating better, you're going to be healthier. When you're treating yourself with respect and love, you're going to be healthier. You're going to cure disease. Like, this kind of stuff is going to happen. And that, again, is a miracle, right? And then the more people who are living like that, the more people who are living in alignment with themselves, who are truly operating from a place of love inside themselves, addressing themselves with the state of love, starting with you first, that is going to ripple out. That's going to change how you behave in the world. That's going to change how you see other people. That's going to change how you react to other things. That's going to change how you have an effect on this planet, right? And the more and more people who are doing that, the more change is going to happen on this planet. So it's not about waiting for the collective to get there. It's like you have control over you. And if every person took responsibility for themselves to live in a state of love instead of a state of fear, to love themselves, to nourish themselves, to address their own stuff with love, to be validating yourself, right? That ripples out. Self-love is not selfish, right? When you are practicing on yourself, it's going to affect how you treat everyone else. And if everyone else did that, the collective would change, and this would create a huge miracle. So, right, the miracle starts with you. When you shift from fear to love, there is a miracle, right? Your perspective changes, you set yourself free from mindsets, you set yourself free from self-sabotaging behavior, you start to live in alignment with who you really are, you start to see that you are safe and that there's enough for you, and you start to live in this abundance mindset, and that starts to ripple out with how you behave and how you treat other people. Maybe you give the homeless person $5. Again, that's a miracle. Maybe you give them a sandwich. That's an even better miracle. Maybe you become the kind of person that lets people in front of you in traffic. Miracle. You see what I'm saying? These little things, these are little miracles. And all of those things build on one another. And the more you kind of demonstrate that behavior and demonstrate how well that works for you, other people are going to start to say, like, okay, what do you have that I don't have? And you can be like, it's love. I'm choosing love. And then that's going to, maybe influence them to choose love, and them to choose love, and them to choose love. And then everyone starts to change. And that's what creates the huge, big miracle on the planet. So understand that your personal responsibility is huge, right? Like when people say, like, I'm only one person, what can I do? You're one person, you can do fucking everything, right? With your life, you have complete control. You can be a miracle worker 24/7. And if everyone chose to own that responsibility, this whole world would change overnight. It would be a huge miracle. You see what I'm saying? So own the fact that you're a miracle worker. Own the fact that it is your responsibility to choose love over fear as often as possible. None of us are perfect. We're all going to sometimes choose fear, and that's okay, right? Again, be nice to yourself. That's what part of self-love. It's that you don't beat yourself up when you are in a state of fear. That's okay, right? You don't choose more fear in fear. You say, okay, whatever. I was totally in fear. I was totally, like, scared of everyone. That's all right. How can I make you feel safe? What do you need? I love you, right? I'm feeling a negative emotion. What do you need? I love you. I'm feeling like I don't have what I want, and I'm feeling, like, really scattered, and I'm feeling lack of abundance. How can I make you feel safe? What do you need? What do you want? How can I validate you? We start to treat ourselves with this kind of love, it ripples out, okay? So you are a miracle worker. You have complete control over your universe, over your life, over what you experience. And you changing that changes things for everyone. And if we all take that personal responsibility, huge miracles can take place on this planet, okay? So own the fact that you are a miracle worker. Own the fact that all you have to do is choose love over fear. And start to do that with yourself. Watch how that ripples out, and we will change the planet, okay? Miracles are easy. Just choose love. Just choose love. Start with loving yourself, and everything will change. This is why self-love is so important, because it will change the world, all right? So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you think it's ridiculous, let me know in the comments. If you think it's great, let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Find me on Facebook. I'm Perception Trainers. Find us on Instagram, Ali_Perception Trainers. And I'll see you in the next video. Miracle worker. Go work your miracles. Thanks.